Okay, so what we're working on is the 3-3 practice, and this is Form K. So the question is, which segments or lines are parallel, and justify your answer. So the first thing is this is on opposite sides, so it's going to be one of the alternate ones. And remember, one of the first things we like to do is darken the transversal. So there's the transversal. And so if that's the transversal, then your answer should not be T and R. Okay? It's going to be Q parallel to S. So Q parallel to S, and it's the converse of alternate exterior. Q parallel to S and converse of the alternate exterior. Remember that your line has to touch the transversal, and it forms the angle. Transversal, Q parallel to S, converse of alt X. Yeah. So the Q angle helps form, or the Q line forms that angle, and the S line forms that angle with the transversal. Okay, good. Number 2, this one we have our 40-degree angles in both triangles, and we have these angles. What we think of is that this one, AB, is parallel to this one, CD, because here's your transversal. So AB is parallel to CD, converse of corresponding. And we also have these other angles which are marked as equal, and they appear parallel also, with this one being our transversal. So that's going to be BC parallel to DE. Again, they're corresponding because you're skipping an angle. It's one exterior and one interior.
What does it say?
AB parallel to CD, converse of corresponding, and I just abbreviated. And then BC parallel to DE, converse of corresponding. Well, I sometimes just put CORR, but this time I put CORRESP. If you'd rather write it out, it's like this. Okay. So in other words, if those angles are equal, then the lines are parallel. Remember, on the previous lessons, we've been saying if the lines are parallel, then these angles are equal, if they're corresponding. Okay, good. Number 3, this one we have 112 and 102 and 68, and we know these outside ones are parallel. Do KP and LO look parallel? No, and they're not marked. They look like if you extended them, they would touch eventually. We also know this one and this one are parallel. So what we want to work on is seeing the addition of the angles. So if we do, just to see it and not always get it right the first time, if we do 102 plus 68, that doesn't. So that means LO is not parallel to MN. LO is not parallel to MN. Since adds to 170. Okay, so that's a little hint. Now if we do the 112 with the 68, it should work. So I'm just highlighting this part and then changing this 102 to 112, and I get 180
Parallel is not, LO is not parallel.
to MN. In other words, they didn't look parallel, and we confirmed they weren't. And now you can see that these two do add up to 180, so it appears like KP is parallel to MN. Yeah. So KP is parallel to MN because of same side interior. From same side interior.
When it says since adds to 170?
Since this adds to 170, not 180. Yeah, so these two are not parallel, but these two are. The other thing about this is if you know MN is parallel to JQ, then KP should also be parallel to JQ, because we just said that these are parallel. So that means these would also be parallel.
Yes.
So we also know that KP is parallel to JQ. KP parallel to JQ. What else do we know? We know these that are marked are. Yeah, so we also know, there's lots of answers on this one. We also know that QN is parallel to JM. I'm using the outside letters because sometimes that's easier than just like saying QO or QP, because it is the whole thing. So QN is parallel to JM, and we also know that QJ is parallel to NM. Have we already put that one? QJ? No, we have. Well, we did JQ, but we did with KP, not MN. So we'll say JQ parallel to MN. JQ parallel to MN. So those are all your answers about all the lines that are parallel. And so these last couple were from given. I don't really have room to write all that. And then KP from transitive. Can I fit it in somewhere? I guess I'm going to try. So this one's from transitive, and these two are from given. Okay, so basically, remember originally we figured out that these two are parallel, and if these two are parallel and the outside two are parallel, then the inside two are parallel. And so that's what I mean by transitive. Okay? And then the other two were just marked. You know, these have two parallel marks, these have one parallel mark. Okay? Any questions? Okay, the next one, if you're just looking at this one, there's this triangle, the next one, and the next one. And you can even say that this is a quadrilateral, this is a quadrilateral, and that's a triangle. So think about different ways to look at it. But what we're concerned about right now is this angle with that angle, because they're marked as equal. So that means that these lines would be parallel. So it's SX parallel to UV. And again, we're skipping an angle, and so that's going to be corresponding. Converse of corresponding. Converse of corresponding. So just like the ones above it. Remember, corresponding are the most popular angles because there's so many different pairs of corresponding. Remember, it's one exterior and one interior. So in this case, the S angle over here, which we'd really call RSX, is exterior, and RUV would be interior. So that's how you can look at it. The next part is about developing a proof. So we're given that 1 and 4, well, we're given that 1 and 2 are supplementary, and this says 1 and 4 are supplementary, so there's some sort of typo right there. So I'm going to have to work this out. So this 1 and 2 supplementary, just check something real quick. 1 and 4 supplementary because that must be the given one. Yeah. So basically, this should be 1 and 4 right there, and this is going to be given. Now, they are considered same side exterior, but if we don't know the lines are parallel, which we don't, then you can't automatically say that. So that's going to be one that's given. Now, we do know that 1 and 2 are equal and 3 and 4 are equal because vertical angles are congruent. I'm just going to put VA to abbreviate. So remember the ones that make the X, that are across from each other, those are ones that you set equal. So that's the vertical angles. Now what we're going to do is substitute, and so where you see angle 1, we're going to put angle 2, and where you see angle 4, we're going to put angle 3. Yeah, so angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary. Angle 2 and 3 are supplementary from substitution. Okay. Now that we've done that, then we look at what type of angles they are. They're same side interior, so then this would be converse of same side interior. Converse of SS int. Okay. Now here's a word problem. Mrs. Jensen made a quilt for her nephew. The pattern is here. If angle 1 is 60 and angle 2 is 115, are the two gray strips of fabric parallel? So the first thing I do is I put the 60 next to there, and I put the 115 next to here. What type angles are these? Perfect. And so we get 115 plus 60 is 175. So that's not 180, so it's not parallel. Since not 180. Degrees. Any questions? Since it's not 180. In other words, when we added them together, we got 175. And they would both have to be adding up to 180. Whether it's 120 with 60 or, some other combination. Okay? Any questions? All right. Now you have some algebra ones, and these I'm glad we're going over. So the little arrow points to this obtuse angle. So even though the x plus 72 is right there, you need to follow the arrow for it to make sense. So in other words, it's talking about this angle. Okay? So what we know about this one and this one is they'd be supplementary, if the lines are parallel because they're same side interior. So we're going to put x plus 72 plus 65 equal 180. So that's how you're going to set it up. It's going to be that angle plus 65 equal 180, and the reason is SS int. And then from there we just need to solve. So remember to add 72 and 65 together, you get 137. And now 180 minus 137 gives you 43. So x is 43. So the part I won't write is just the check for it. So 43 plus 72 gives us 115, and then plus 65 gives us 180. That's how you can check your work to know you did it right. Okay? So that's number 7. Number 8, these are both exterior, and this is your transversal, so we have alternate exterior, which are congruent. So we say 6x plus 17 equal 143. And so then we subtract 17 and go 143 minus 17 is 126. Divide by 6 is 21. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so this one we get 21. And again, if you want to plug it in to check, 6 times 21. 6 times 21 plus 17 does give you 143, which is what we were hoping for. So in other words, you could have said this is 143, so is that. Then your X answer is 21. Any questions? Okay, so the next part, what type of angles are these?
Corresponding.
Very good, corresponding. And so what we do with corresponding angles is set them equal. I'm going to put the 8x expression first because I like having my x on the left, because I want to subtract 7x. And so then we end up adding 14 to both sides, and so we get 16. So what we start with is 8x minus 14 equals 7x plus 2. I subtract 7x from both sides, and then I add 14 to both sides. And again, as a check, 7 times 16 plus 2 is 114. 8 times 16 minus 14 is also 114. So again, that's how you check it. Both of these are 114. Remember, if you plug it in and get a negative answer, you probably missed it. Your angles would have to be between 0 and 180. Okay, now this one looks a little trickier because there's an X and 2 lines right there. So what we can think of is this. Okay, we got to work through the process. We're trying to prove the thing about the A and B parallel. And so if they are parallel, then these alternate interior would be equal. So I can say the 3x goes right here. Because of alternate interior, and then I add these to make a straight line, so I can say 12x plus 3x equal 180. So basically on that one, I'm going to do 180 divided by 15. And we get 12. 12 is what x is. So the way I worked it, I didn't even have to use the 6x. It looks like another way we could have done it was you could say, if that's 6x, then so is this. And you'd say, this has to be 180 minus 6x. And I'm not going to end up writing it because it looks a lot more complicated the way I was about to do. Stick with my first impression, which is these are alternate interior, and then these are linear pair. So use alternate interior and linear pair to get that. Any questions? Okay, number 11, developing a proof. Use the given information to determine which lines, if any, are parallel. There are 12 angles marked. So what we're looking at to begin with is 8 and 9. So they are both interior. One's obtuse, one's acute. So S would be your transversal. S is the transversal. And so it's going to be X parallel to Y because of the converse of same side interior. X parallel to Y, converse of the same side interior.
Is that an X or a V that's equal to Y?
This is X parallel to Y.
Does that say S is?
S is the transversal. S is the transversal. Let me zoom in a little bit more. That would help. Converse of same side interior. In other words, start looking to see where they are, and if they're both interior and they're one obtuse, one acute, it's going to be same side interior. Now our next one's talking about 7 and 4. They're further away and they're on opposite sides, so that'd be alternate exterior. So we're going to have S is the transversal again. I'm not going to write that again. But we are going to put X parallel to Y and converse of alternate exterior. Converse of alternate exterior. So again, on that one, S would have been the transversal. Okay, on number 13, 13 is a typo. It says 9 is supplementary to 2, but that doesn't make any sense because they're both they're alternate interior. So what they should have done, because they're talking about this angle, they should have put a 3 here. So angle 3 is supplementary to 2. So because of 3 being supplementary to 2, that'd be same side interior. Converse of SS int. And so X and Y would be the lines. X parallel to Y. Okay, now on the next one, we're talking about 9 and 11, and those are the alternate interior. I'll just continue this tomorrow.